hurricane season, which starts tomorrow. Technically it starts at midnight tonight, and it goes all the way through December the 1st. That's the end of hurricane season, and by that time frame, right through Thanksgiving and into the early part of December, we may look back on this as one of the most incredibly busy seasons ever. At least that's what the current forecast holds for right now. So whether or not that stays that way, we could have some mid-season changes on there. We'll have to kind of wait and see what goes on. But we'll be looking for the potential of what could be some absolutely incredibly busy conditions over the course of the next several days. So if you have any plans to travel, especially near the coastlines or the oceans, this is going to be a season where you really, really have to be weather aware. We'll talk more about that coming up in just a little bit. I didn't realize that we'd had so many new subscriptions on Twitch and several more people tuning in, which is very nice to be able to see that. We are live and direct. It is the last Friday of the month, the last day of the month. June starts tomorrow. Where has the time gone? And as of right now, for Friday evening, things are very much on the quiet side. I don't see any problems for tonight, but if you have any outdoor plans into the weekend, I definitely would be paying attention just to be on the safe side for moving back indoors again should it become necessary. From the News 12 studios in downtown Chattanooga, Tennessee, I'm Chief Meteorologist Austen Onek. This is our exclusive video weather blog, Weather Overtime. If you're on Twitch and looking for something a little bit more exciting, more about dancing, knitting, cooking, game playing, whatever it is you're into, you're not going to find that here. That's not what we do. We do talk about weather, one of my favorite topics as a meteorologist, making certain that people understand more about what's going on with weather, and that's one of my favorite things to do. So this gives us an opportunity to talk to you about what is happening. If you have questions regarding what's going on with the weather, maybe not in the News 12 viewing area over here in southeast Tennessee, northeast Alabama, and back into northern Georgia, if you got a question about anything involving weather, ask it, and I'll do my best to answer the question. Maybe not during this netcast that we have going on, excuse me, but as we go into the next couple of days, I can email it to you or post it on social media. So again, thanks to everybody for signing up on Twitch. Welcome to the show. Hope you've had a good week. Hope it's been a quiet week and a safe one for you. Hope the weekend looks that way. Again, for right now, little, if anything, really going on. Let's go ahead and get started and take a look at the almanac page. We did not do this last night. 82 and 57, just below normal by a few degrees for this time of the year. Awesomely comfortable early this morning. Beautiful day out there. No rainfall today. We're behind for the year by about a third of an inch, give or take. And for the month, we're ahead by 1.9. So we're doing relatively okay where it comes to rainfall across much of the area. Taking a look outside, let's take a look at some of our cameras, which you can find on the EPB Fiber Optics WeatherCam network. Bailey's Heating and Air Camera, downtown Chattanooga, looking off toward the east-northeast. Moonrise happening out there somewhere in the next several hours. Beautiful, dry. You can see the trees waving around a little bit. We do have a little bit of a breeze for tonight, but otherwise not doing too bad for now. Lee Point, not much of a sunset. We did manage to get more than a few clouds out there, so we're not seeing a great deal of visibility problems, but dry for now. Patriot Concrete Camera from the News 12 studios on Broad Street, looking over toward the north flank of Lookout Mountain, and a lot of clouds out there. Took a look for anything involving anything with flyovers for satellites tonight. Did not see anything whatsoever. So it would have been a great night weather-wise, minus the clouds, to see some of the satellites out there flying overhead, but was not a good night for that. Tomahawk Crane and Rigging Camera looking back toward the Chattanooga Airport. Very much on the dry side. Looks like one of the stadium lights is kind of aimed right into the camera area, so we do have decent amount of some glare taking place there. To the Chattanooga Zoo Ice Cream Safari webcam. This is an event that's coming up relatively soon, I believe 2 weeks from tomorrow, Saturday. If you'd like to know more, head to the Chattanooga Zoo web camera. Looking across Holtzclaw Avenue at I-24, you can see some of that traffic on the ridge moving up and down from the ridge area. Traffic moving along pretty well. Pretty good scrum of traffic earlier thanks to some problems out there. And from the area around the Chattanooga Theater Center, very active Coolidge Park earlier today. A lot of traffic on the footbridge, a lot of clouds out across portions of the area. So we did have excuse me, a beautiful day out there overall and not doing too bad right now. Matter of fact, temperatures beautiful, back in the high to mid 70s. Winds have turned. They were out of the north. They are now out of the east at about 6 miles per hour. And that is helping to kind of escort in our next weather maker as we go into the course of the next couple of days. We may also see the potential of some severe weather coming on through. Now, we've got clouds basically just to our west. We've got some scattered showers west of Huntsville, right back around I-65. And that area of high pressure has now basically kind of split and is covering up much of the Great Lakes and the East Coast area. This is what has been giving us with that rotation around high pressure going clockwise in the northern hemisphere. This has been escorting south a lot of very dry air. Well, now, as we go into the next couple of days, this area of high pressure is going to make its way off the coast, and as that happens, we now see the winds coming in from out of the southeast. Combine that with an area of low pressure that rotates counterclockwise. These two systems are working together to push this moisture on shore. We don't see a lot of it for right now, but we do see enough of it, a lot of a decent plume of moisture from the Gulf all the way up the Mississippi Valley into and around the western Great Lakes. These storm systems, plural, are going to run through this moisture and give us the potential of maybe some more problems where it comes to showers and thunderstorms across portions of the area. Now, what we're not seeing is any severe weather. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. Got some temperatures, again, very pleasant into tomorrow morning. Not quite as cool as it was before. Temperatures for Saturday, more clouds, more rain. It's going to be decently nice. I really don't think we're going to be hitting 58 in Chattanooga tomorrow afternoon. That's going to take a lot of rain and a lot of cool air. I still don't see that happening for now, but we could get some nicer, cooler temperatures for the early part of the weekend, so stay tuned. We'll talk more about that coming up here in just a bit. Sunday morning, again, more scattered chances of showers and thunderstorms again right on into the afternoon. The first part of that next storm system rolls on through, and then we'll see not much going on Monday morning, but a return to more showers and thunderstorms Monday afternoon, and again on Tuesday morning, some activity around and about, but really not much more than that, and more chances of showers and thunderstorms into and around Tuesday afternoon. And that pattern is just going to continue over the course of the next several days. So expecting not much to be changing until about this time next week, Friday, when we finally get to dry back out again. Now, for the potential of severe weather, not expecting anything for tonight, but tomorrow, and this is, again, a very old forecast. This was issued about noon today, and while we're talking about this coming up on 10 o'clock, that's several hours old. So this forecast is already out of date, but the latest that we have to bring to you is this for tonight. And here's what we're looking at for right now. The potential exists, although it is going to be on the smaller side of seeing the possibility of some severe weather. Again, it does not look like too much at this point. I'm trying to see if I had the area there. I guess I do not. So, well, we'll just, okay, here we go. What we're seeing is, again, most of the severe weather threat back to the west of us. Let me go back to the other graphic here. Back to the west of us, as in Kansas, the Front Range of Colorado, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Texas, small sliver of Wyoming, and western Nebraska will be in a slight risk category, which again on that scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest at a marginal, it's about a 2. That's the yellow polygon, the slight potential there. Now, what's going on here with us. There is going to be that potential, a little bit drier air here, that plume of moisture, and one of those storm systems mixing together to cause another potential of severe weather where we are. Now, what we're seeing for right now is really not all that much, but what we are seeing is way over here, just in an area that has had pretty much enough severe weather to last for an entire year. Jackson and DeKalb counties in Alabama, that is where we're looking at the potential for a marginal threat of severe weather. Again, this was issued several hours ago, so I doubt we're going to be seeing this same forecast as the new forecast rolls through by about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. These issued by the NOAA Storm Prediction Center. This is not much, but again, it is possible to see some severe weather. Not looking at a huge amount, but we will be keeping our eyes on northeast Alabama. This area of Alabama has had, if I count correctly, in the last 2 to 3 weeks, there have been approximately 20 plus tornado warnings, and I couldn't even begin to count the number of severe thunderstorm warnings that we would be looking at on here. So this is very critically important to where we do of some problems, maybe with severe weather into Saturday. So that is something that we're going to be watching with, again, a lot of interest. And you should too. That's going to be very important to make sure that you are paying attention on there for that. All right, so for the 7-day forecast and routing all the way through next week, again, Atlantic hurricane season begins on Saturday. And then as we get into next Wednesday, Andrew Harrison, my co-anchor, has a corgi at home. Funsible, something like that. I forget the name of it, but it's a very regal name. So over the next several days, temperatures stair-stepping upwards, and we see again that possibility of showers and thunderstorms every single day. The only indication of anything involving severe weather will be Saturday, and that's the only thing we have. But every single day, all the way through the end of next week and into Friday, when we finally start to clear back out again, more chances of showers and thunderstorms before that sunshine returns. Very much on the mild side here again for the weekend, just below normal, right about at normal on Monday and Tuesday, and above normal temperatures as we go toward the end of the week. All that sunshine is going to keep us warm. Now, this is not heat wave territory, but it is going to be rather toasty out there once again. So we could see the potential of some problems for outdoor activities. So keep it tuned to News 12, and we'll let you know more about what we may be expecting there. All right, let's take a look and see what's going on with the tropics. And again, hurricane season in the Atlantic, the official start is June 1st. That is now less than 2 hours away. So we'll be watching. There's nothing going on. We're not counting down because a storm is coming over the horizon. We're just counting down to the actual date of the beginning of the hurricane season. And as of right now, thankfully, there's absolutely nothing going on, so we do not have much of anything to worry about for now. Now, down into the eastern Pacific, where hurricane season here starts May 15th, we do have one disturbance that is moving right along the western coast of Central America. So we do see the potential of maybe this developing, but right now it's only a 10% chance in the next week. So this really does not look like much for now. We're not seeing anything here. A couple folks on Counter Social website did point out that we have had some tropical waves, which is just, as it seems, a wave of energy passing through the atmosphere. But other than that, there's really just not that much going on. So it's very quiet starting things off. I really hope it stays that way. I hope the forecast is wrong, because if it's right, we could be seeing a very ugly season coming up. And here's why. The Gulf and the Caribbean are as warm as, and the Atlantic in some parts, are as warm as they should be in mid-August. And notice right there, down toward the southern portion of Cuba, out toward Jamaica, into and around that area of the northwestern Caribbean, temperatures of 86 on the buoy. That is exceptionally warm water. This is bathtub warm water. Yes, this is a few degrees cooler than what you have in your shower or your bathtub. The point is it's very warm. And that is what, when storms move over that very warm water, that is what they need. This is rocket fuel. This is going to, again, be a big problem. And especially as we go, let me see if I learned this new trick correctly here. This is something that could be a bit of a problem, especially right in this area here. This is called the loop current. And this is where Katrina exploded, and I believe it was Wilma that got very warm. This exceptionally warm water travels around the Gulf of Mexico, and then right here it makes sort of an omega pattern, a dog leg through the Straits of Florida and down toward Key West. This is responsible for the explosive development of these storms that can cause just an absolutely ridiculous amount of problems. This is where we may be seeing the potential for these storms causing even more concern into the next several weeks and months. But this right here, this loop current, has been very active and will continue to be a potential problem. So this is something that we are going to have to monitor very carefully out there. Now, why haven't we had anything in the way of storms over here just yet? That's a very good question, and here's an answer. The Sahara Desert, sending its dust flying through the atmosphere, sometimes to the Americas, sometimes all the way around the world. This dust acts as a filter and reflects just enough sunlight to cool off the area around that portion of the ocean, which is something that can limit hurricane development. And right now we've got a decent blob of dust, and it looks like another one starting to fire up over here off the west coast of Africa, around close to the Sahel area. But we've had enough dust here to where it's basically blocking the sunlight and bouncing it, so it's not quite as warm down toward the surface. That's good news for us. That's also good news. Part of that dust also helps to do a good job of helping to reinvigorate the soils of the Amazon down into South America and the jungles of Central America. But this is where we may see less development because of this dust at this point in time. I want to thank, and this is something that I should have said earlier when I was talking about this, but one of our staff here, James Elrod, on the production staff, was his family went down, I believe, to the Gulf of Mexico and asked if they wanted a souvenir, and he said, well, he didn't have this for his collection of flags. This is an actual gale, or two of these. There's another one in the box, but I don't want to mess it up to someplace since I'm just borrowing it. This was nice of him to loan this so that I could see this on here. Really cool to see an actual hurricane flag that they would raise over the coastal areas to warn the captains of the boats and the ships out there what was coming their direction. So I've always wanted to have one of these things. I'll have to see if I can find one there. But again, this is a really cool symbol of hurricane season. It's nice to be able to show this off for a little bit. So News 12 production staff, James Elrod, thank you very much for letting me borrow this for the next couple of days so we can use that and have to get, just really neat to have that. I might have to get that and hang that off, get one of these and hang it off my patio for the rest of hurricane season, just to show that there is something going on at some point in time. That was really cool to see that. So thank you, Elrod, for that. Really do appreciate it. Where are we? Okay, let's have some fun here for a little bit. A couple of extracurricular activities for you before we wrap things up for the night and for the week. Again, if you have any questions and have just tuned in on Twitch or on YouTube, please drop the questions into the chat function. Thank you very much, Wayne Carpenter from Decatur, for a nice view of a distant bolt of lightning. That's our Langley Roofing weather window picture of the day. And you may be saying to yourself, well, these are excellent pictures. How can I see these up close and personal? Well, a couple of good ways to do that. First, if you want to turn in your pictures so we can use them for the Langley Roofing weather window picture of the day, you can email them to us. We post them to our social media pages. You can also drop them there in the comments section. You can also go to the news section of our website, wdef.com/photos. You can submit yours, and you can also see what everybody else has been using for the weather window picture of the day. So thanks to everybody who has sent in some great pictures out there, and we'll continue to post those throughout the course of the rest of the week. Quick check of temperatures around the area, not doing too bad, 60s and 70s. Again, I'm very worried about Scottsboro, Alabama. You can take the thermometer out of the oven. I think it's done now, with temperatures back into the lower 90s, apparently, in Scottsboro for some odd reason. All right, where did I do with it? There's neat computer models that you can take a look at that will show you all sorts of different things. And what I would like to talk about here for just a second, okay, there we go. One of the computer models that is used for studying storm surge, if you have a hurricane that moves over the ocean surface, that hurricane is an area of low pressure, so that is starting to increase the amount of water underneath it, thanks to that low pressure pulling in water from around the edges of that hurricane and stacking it up on the underside of that hurricane. As that hurricane moves forward, so does what is called the storm surge, and that can grow to be 10, 20, 30, 40 feet above what the normal surface would be at sea level. And that is a killer. And that is one of the things that people do not take into account when it comes to hurricanes. A lot of people, I read something on Reddit that scared the heck out of me that said, somebody posted it, and I think it was an r/weather, about how the people moving from Michigan down to Florida said they're not going to prepare for anything because they don't believe hurricanes exist. It's something made up by the I'm not going to use the epithet that they use for the media, but they may have a very rough surprise at some point in time in the semi-near future. Now, on that note, the National Hurricane Center uses the forecast models to show which directions the storms will be going. Well, there are other models that have been perfected over the last several months, years, and decades, and one of them is this computer model here. They use it to study that surge of water that moves along under the hurricane, and that model for studying storm surge is called Swamp, Soggy, Soak, or Slosh. And that is your friendinroofing.com weather poll of the day. If you'd like to get there, all you have to do is aim your camera on your phone at the QR code, or you can go to our website, wdef.com/vote now, if you'd like to vote in any of our polls, and we have several of them going at one point in time. So what is the actual answer on here? The answer is actually answer number 4 on there, or D, depending on which one you're looking at. It's called slosh, the sea, lake, and overland surge from hurricanes. And you can see that at the National Weather Service National Hurricane Center website. As the storm approaches, you can see how much water is being driven up. The scale over here showing again what the effect will be, where the worst potential is going to be on here. It's a very neat model to watch, and it is something to really pay attention to as we get into the rest of hurricane season, to make certain that we are paying attention to that. It's not just the winds, it's not just the damage that it causes, it's also that water, because as that water underneath that hurricane moves forward, all that water will go onto the land surface. And you can watch this on video. There are time-lapse videos out there on YouTube where you can see the water level just rise very rapidly over a few hours. It's not like a flash flood, but it's more or less just as dangerous, because of the fact that if you get stuck in this, that was part of what happened with that storm surge that moved into and around the area of close to New Orleans. That water just overflowed the levees and caused a lot of the damages. So this is important to take into account when it comes to anything involving hurricanes, especially into the rest of hurricane season, because it's not just the winds, it's not just the damage. This right here, the storm surge, the flooding, that is where we have the potential of being a very active chance of dying because of drowning or being swept out to sea, or a lot of other things that could go horribly, horribly wrong if you're not paying attention to what's going on. So please watch out for models like this. And if you'd like more information, National Hurricane Center at nhc.noaa.gov, and you can find out more about storm surge all the way on through there. So really, really neat model to be able to take a look at. So please check that out and see, again, more about what the National Hurricane Center, the mathematicians, the meteorologists, the researchers, all these incredible people are doing to make certain that you stay safer. That's going to be one of the best things you can possibly do. Now, this has been on the website for a while, but I wanted to mention this because I have dealt with this before from several people, adults especially included in this. There was a counseling service back in Memphis right after I got to Memphis about 98, 99, where we had a pretty nasty series of storms roll through in January. And one young man who was about 6 at the time was doing a very good job of really obsessing over the potential of severe weather. He got very scared. There was a tornado nearby. I believe one of his relatives may have gotten killed by that same tornado. So he was watching the Weather Channel from dusk till dawn. He was looking from there. He would run to look out the window to make certain a cloud hadn't formed in the last 5 minutes that he was watching the TV station around to see if there was anything happening. And this is a real fear. This is something that affects a lot of people. Some people like me enjoy loud thunderstorms, the idea of storm chasing, the idea of tracking these monster, deadly hurricanes because we can, because that's a fascination of ours. A lot of other people, if the wind rises a little bit or a mention is made of a tornado warning on the air, they get very nervous, anxious, and almost in some cases, like the young man back in Memphis, almost to the point of where they have to kind of mentally withdraw. Anxiety about stuff like this is a real thing. Now, again, for adults and kids, this is one of the recommendations that the National Weather Service in Morristown puts on their website at the top under the headlines right there. And this is just a small list. The website actually has a ton of suggestions about what you can do. For that young man, I suggested one of the best things was to become a Skywarn spotter, because that's a class that teaches you what to look for before, during, and after severe weather, especially beforehand, so that you're knowledgeable about what's going on. That's all part of being weather aware, knowing what is happening, learning about the storms and the patterns they take, the paths they move on, staying up to date when it comes to severe weather. Because if you have a storm going through a certain place and it's going one direction over another, if you're far south or far north of that or out of range of it down the line, you don't have a lot to worry about right then and there. But you do have to pay attention to the weather to make certain that you are going to be okay, especially if more storms are forming in the opposite direction and heading your direction later on, which is why places like ready.gov talk about having a disaster plan, having a communications plan in place, and if you don't, making a plan. And again, can't overemphasize this enough, winging it, just saying, oh, I'll take care of it when the tornado sirens go off or the warnings for hurricanes come up. Winging it is not a plan. That is an invitation for disaster. Getting things set up so that you can communicate with family members, get out of harm's way, have enough time to get out of harm's way so you're not stuck in the scrum of people who waited until the last minute. Again, also learning your location, paying attention to local geography, know what city and county you're in. That's how warnings get issued, on a county by county or partial county by partial county basis. And that can help you stay informed and knowledgeable about what's going on. Ask questions. If you got questions of me, again, email address at the bottom of the screen, aonek@wdef.com. I may not know the answer, but I'll do my best to help you find something that may help you to be less afraid of what is going on. Visit a National Weather Service office, call and ask for a tour, sit down with the meteorologist and ask questions on that. And by all means, again, using your phone, make certain that you have multiple ways to get weather warnings, not just from News 12, not just from the National Weather Service, but also, again, using your phone for wireless alerts, paying attention to what's going on various websites, staying up to date on stuff like that can help you a great deal. And that is just a small sample of what's available right here. So if you'd like to know more about this, handling storm stress and learning about weather anxiety, head to this website, weather.gov/MRX. Really neat to be able to see that. The young man, as I recall, from the counseling service got back in touch with me later on and said that after taking the Skywarn class and after learning about what the situation is and how things would work with that, he was much less stressed out, and I'm very glad that things worked out that way. So very nice to be able to see that happens on there. Respect of Orange on Twitch. Thanks for streaming to this platform, even if not many people watch through it. Well, again, that's right then. First of all, thank you for checking in on Twitch. I do appreciate that and making the comment. Secondly, back in Memphis, as I was doing this same thing, I was the #1 person on the internet, according to ShareRocket's internet data handling systems in the Memphis market for weather when it came to social media. So the reason I'm doing this is partially to help build that audience back, but it's also to bring information like this to the public. This is one more way the TV stations and media companies can reach out to the public and give information like this that you may not get anyplace else. And as I said at the beginning of the webcast, this right here is a way for us to communicate weather information. Right now, we've gone coming up on 32 minutes of streaming. That right there is an entire newscast worth of time. So partly the reason I do this is to make certain that if somebody has a question, there are no dumb questions. The only dumb questions are the ones that are not asked, and that's what I tell students when I go talk to schools, that if you don't know, raise your hand and ask the teacher, the instructor, whoever, and say, look, I don't get this. I want to understand it. Please help me. And that's partly why I'm doing this. So Respect of Orange, thank you very much for checking in on Twitch. Thanks to everybody for signing up, for following on here, and thanks to everybody else for tuning in as you do. Always glad to have you along for the ride. And again, if you have questions, go ahead and send them in to us. We'd love to know what you're thinking and everything else that, again, you may be on your mind. Would love to be able to see more folks watching the show here. So it's a great opportunity, again, to meet people and check in for everything. This is not your typical Twitch cast. This is, again, not about dancing or music or cooking or sewing or whatever. It's about weather. That's what I do. That's what I like, and hopefully that comes through, and hopefully you're enjoying this. At the very least, if I put anybody out there to sleep, hopefully you're getting a good nap out of it. So again, I'm hoping that I've done some good somehow out there. All right, that should wrap it up for tonight. Half an hour of boring people. I think we've done pretty well on that for everything. So we're going to go ahead and close things down for tonight. Again, potential of some severe weather in the western parts of the viewing area this weekend. That is something that we're really going to have to watch. Website at the bottom of the screen, wdef.com/weather. Please stay tuned. Again, even if it's just coming close to us, we'll be watching very carefully to see what goes on with the weather through the weekend. And meteorologist Todd Heislip will be here on Saturday and Sunday at the 11 o'clock shows. And if necessary, we'll break in with severe weather to let you know more about what is going on. But this weekend, it may not be much, but it's a great time to make certain you're weather aware. Use the time this weekend, no matter where you are. If you're in the Chattanooga area, great. If you're in Walla Walla, Washington, Bangor, Maine, San Antonio, Texas, wherever you are tuning in from, now's the time to get ready for severe weather. And it can happen no matter where you are on the planet. Every single state in the United States, including Alaska and Hawaii, have had tornadoes in the last 100, 125, 150 years. Documented that is possible. Utah, Salt Lake City had a tornado. Downtown Salt Lake City back in 2002. That was a memorable one. Tornadoes in the high desert area. Again, this is the time to get prepared, so use the time this weekend. Get yourself a weather radio. Find your weather safe space. Find, again, more information online about helping you be more comfortable with weather. If you're anxious about weather, that's perfectly understandable. Absolutely, completely, and totally. And that's what I tell the kids and the teachers when I go to schools, is that if you're a little bit hesitant about what's going on, you get a little nervous, a little maybe scared at what goes on, it's perfectly fine. That's your brain telling you that you need to be prepared for something that might happen. It's anticipation and anxiety mixed together. But as long as you don't let that fear paralyze you and have a plan that's ready to go, never a time for panic. I don't hype the weather. There's no point in hyping weather. It's bad enough as it is sometimes that you don't need that. And if I hype weather, that does nobody any good. I tell people what's going on, and that's the gist of it right there. So get ready, find out more, learn more, open yourself up to learning about what goes on with weather, and you're going to be a lot less anxious when you have that information stuck up here. All right, that's it for right now. Let's see, so respective orange. The next time that broadcast doesn't overlap with the UT game, I might be here for the entire thing. Well, it's true. I had thought the tags were on here with weather, but had some trouble installing them on Twitch. I'm still kind of new to this whole Twitch thing on there. And again, if we do interrupt a game of any type with severe weather, we'll get back to regular programming as soon as we possibly can. I got to Fort Smith, Arkansas in 1994, and in the spring of 1995, if you're up around Fort Smith, Fayetteville, Arkansas, that is right smack dead center in the middle of Arkansas Razorback home territory. And the basketball team went to I think they won the tournament that year. But when you have to interrupt Razorback basketball with severe weather warnings, including spotted tornadoes on the ground, this is what we do. So we promise we'll get back to normal programming as soon as we can. But as of right now, this we do what we can with what we have, but it's our job to let people know what's happening. So we try not to interrupt, but when there's life-threatening weather, that's what needs to be done. So, all right, thanks again for all the comments. We're going to go ahead and turn it back to your regularly scheduled Friday night. We'll have more on News 12 at 11 with Andrew Harrison and Rick Nyman on news and sports, respectively. And again, meteorologist Todd Heislip has your forecast Saturday and Sunday nights at 11. Chip Chapman is back Monday morning at 5 a.m. And I'll be back with another weather overtime as we go into the first couple of days of June. Keep an eye on those tropics if you're heading down south or off to the East Coast at some place. Your life at some point in time, and not hyping it to say, might depend on your choice of vacation time, where you go, and how well you pay attention to the weather. We're looking at what could be a very active season, so let's pay attention and let's be careful out there. Live and direct from downtown Chattanooga, Tennessee, I'm Chief Meteorologist Austen Onek. This has been the Friday night, May 31st edition of our exclusive video weather blog, Weather Overtime. Stay tuned for more throughout the rest of the weekend on News 12, on air or online, and we'll see you back here again on Monday evening. Thanks for joining us.